You lot of doubting Thomases. Did you even dream that we weren't going to do it?
Tell us the facts. Tell us the facts.
Petrol and diesel fuel get more and more expensive, but the world has 7 times as much natural gas. And for 11 years, the driver of this car has been trying to sell the world his way of using it.
It's going to be the most important day.
Tim Bedford's manner is deceptively mild, but just listen to the claims.
We can deliver up to a 100% increase in power output. There's a dramatic reduction in engine noise. It's far more comfortable to drive. We clean up the air because the particulates in the exhaust are almost non-existent, and the pollutants that are there you can breathe forever in the day and still live. And in a lot of countries, it means that people can afford to have transport systems without starving people to death, to use a foreign currency to buy food. They're buying oil instead. Our theme tune for many years, particularly as the bank manager, has been that the future of Western civilization is resting on our shoulders, and it's up to all of us to make this program succeed. Thank you.
So much for the theory. Now for what he has to show to his American backers. It's a decrepit, clapped-out diesel engine bus. And that's just the point. The developing world is full of them. He's converted one to run on natural gas, methane. Bedford's work has been funded for over a year by an energy company from Houston, Texas, called Geosource. The initial contract has run out, and now the men from Geosource want to see how their money has been spent.
On this dual fuel conversion.
Nice to see you.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
All right, you have a good trip?
Yeah, fine, fine.
Dick Hood with GM, Roy.
Dick, how
Glad
are
to
you?
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Miss Alton DeClaire.
Al DeClaire? Al?
GM.
Nice to see you.
Wait, we ready to go for a run in it?
Let's go.
It's the simple story of what any aspiring businessman can do, given Tim Bedford's inventive flair, his energy, and his total conviction that he'll get there in the end. But starting out on diesel fuel, because methane won't ignite until the engine's hot. So that's Bedford's method. Start up on standard diesel fuel, and when it's warm, they'll switch over and spend the rest of the day on gas.
The difference between the performance and the noise level from the diesel that you're on now to the gas.
Not impressed? Less noise, more power.
And on gas. I better slow down. We'll laugh if we got knocked off the speed.
For this demonstration, they're running on a cylinder of compressed methane.
Just an ordinary compressed gas tank. Lasts half an hour.
But the Americans want to sell equipment to liquefy the gas. On a tank of liquid natural gas, you could run all day. And here, Bedford has a problem, because the men from Geosource will want to see that truck running on super cold liquid natural gas, LNG. What they don't know at this point is that the local gas board won't sell Bedford the LNG he needs. So this splendid stainless steel vacuum flask is empty. The truck won't go, but it looks good.
So all it is an actual, you take off the diesel tank and then you put this cryogenic tank with the diesel on. What always scares us, you get into developing countries, someone drills holes in there to put a danger sign on or something.
But will anyone ask for a ride? They keep talking, and Bedford keeps them talking until the next morning.
I think our goal at this point, Tim, will be to assure that you keep the technology ahead. And it's going to be your job to keep us ahead of the market.
That's no problem.
I think it's going to be incumbent on us in the near future to look at what options for a continued relationship are. One of the things that we can do is just continue the way we are. We have you under contract to us. We fund specific R&D programs. You meet those, and we look at others. So it's a long-term continuing relationship. The things that we talked about was the possibility that you would become an employee of Geosource, and it could be that your company might be acquired by Geosource.
No, what he wants is to stay independent.
I think in the U.S. it's just about a bigger part of the development comes out of these little places like New Energy, and they're referred to in the United States as skunk works, where they people sit out here and one or two men develop things. The last thing we don't want to do is give you a stack of forms to fill out.
We can make paper planes.
What we'll do is just slip money and food under the door, and you slip ideas back out to us.
We're sure, mate, there's a big hole under the door.
Yeah.
They accept that Bedford is a good engineer. He originally left Rolls-Royce to work with natural gas, but then he discovered that the only gas that's allowed on Britain's roads is propane, sold as liquid petroleum gas, LPG. He converted cars to LPG and sold the fuel. It's easier to handle than LNG. Not a runaway success, but it might pay his pension. But since then, he's returned to his old dream and set up a new company in one of Derby's start-up industrial estates under a brave new name. But so far, his work with natural gas has taken all of Geosource's cash and an overdraft, which is heading towards his current limit of 28,000. This workshop doesn't even have a gas main, and compressed gas is nearly £50 a bottle. By now, he had hoped to show Geosource a plastic LNG tank, far cheaper than stainless steel. But in this early design, the insulation cracked. All the hardware they've really got to show is this. Electronics consultant Dave Armstrong was switching this microprocessor in and out to control the gas to the engine on the bus. There's one of those in the Mercedes truck, too. And in the end, they have got it going.
Turning back on diesel in a minute.
The Mercedes diesel engine is used on 8,000 buses in Buenos Aires.
You're on diesel now.
And Geosource is on the brink of a deal with Argentina to sell their liquefiers and Bedford's conversion kits.
Now you're on gas. Much better. Better? Yeah. Sorted that out.
The local equivalent of an Argentine bus on its way to... the local equivalent of an Argentine gas field. Vintage 1984, laid down, it seems, as a resource for the future. A renewable resource, as Tim Bedford wants another group of visitors to know. Just cover it up and let it all ferment.
Now, the gas in the site, where it's well covered, is building up a pressure. And what we've got here is a flare stack. It's connected onto one of the wells.
Yes.
And the gas is being blown out under
Sure.
its own pressure. And
That's welcome.
yes, that's lovely, isn't it? That's the bottom.
How much gas have you got coming out,
from there.
roughly, off the entire site?
Well, off the whole site, we're estimating a minimum of 200 cubic feet a minute.
About half of that is methane, but a liquefier could extract pure methane from the gas.
Yeah, there's quite a flare up there, isn't there?
Yes.
He'd like to sell that here in Britain too.
Yeah. The idea that we've got at the moment is using a site similar to this, putting a liquefier on, trucking it to Derby and running some of the buses on it.
On the larger sites that are still active, I suppose, you could modify the dust collection carts.
Very
so
easily,
they come in
yes.
and tip their waste and then come back and get... Yes.
Sure. And we'll be taking gas off 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which will be
Right.
helpful.
Yes, that's great.
And there'll be continuous demand.
Another visitor from Geosource instantly applies all this to South America, Jeff Silcock.
Sao Paulo, Brazil.
How does that site compare to this one here?
That's the world's largest, I would think. It was 5 kilometres long, 4 wide and 1 deep. And there's enough gas coming out of that to run 30,000 buses. And there's 6 more to go after that particular one.
And Buenos Aires has them too. Geosource are hooked on that. So, 1 month later, although he still has no contract, Bedford has received another cheque, which is just as well. His bank has cut back his overdraft. Unabashed, he's telexed Houston that he's almost ready to make 100 conversion kits. He makes no secret of his need for more money. So Geosource send their man to keep an eye on all these ambitious plans.
We'll take the phone off the hook. It'll give us a little bit of peace and quiet.
Jeff Silcock.
We're at something of a crossroads at the moment. We've established to your company that we can convert vehicles to run on natural gas. And it's been agreed that we'll be paid out this week. It's rather ironic that in the last week the NatWest Bank have lost their bottle, and yesterday returned a couple of cheques, even though we put in £2,000 to cover them. But I think they'll get the colour back in their cheeks by the weekend, and we'll take it from there.
I think we're going to have to sit down and prepare a schedule of events, what's going to happen from now on.
So Bedford shows Silcock what has to happen first as he sees it. He really wants to build his own new factory, but even for the next few months, he'll need more space.
It's a darn good clean-up, doesn't it?
Bedford doesn't want to get too dependent on Geosource, so he's also trying to persuade Derby City Transport to go with him on gas. For that, he'll need height enough for double-decker buses.
Aye. Yes. This is Jeff Silcock. I'm Tim Bedford.
He wants a lease that he can escape at short notice.
Oh, this is it?
And about 6,000 square feet.
How many feet is it? Square feet?
About 7,000.
Yeah. We don't know the height of that, do we? We might have to get double-decker buses in.
You may do.
Depends on the height of the buses, you imagine. The other problem we might have is we should be running engines on endurance tests here on dynamometers. A fair bit of noise coming off them. How well soundproof are the walls, any idea?
We need to check with the planners, certainly.
Yeah. It's got gas on, hasn't it? Yes. And what about how long we got to sign up for?
Preferably 25 years.
25, a quarter of a century.
Yes.
No way. No strings, thank you. 3 months later, New Energy International has a new home, but Bedford has put up a different name. Blue Chip is a separate company that has nothing to do with Geosource, so he can use the name when he tries for extra conversion jobs in Britain. But the closest he's got is yet another bus. And again, it's not the latest model. The latest fuel tank is made of fiberglass, which, Bedford has read, is stronger at the temperature of liquid natural gas. It's a new idea, so there's no British standard bursting strength for a fiberglass tank, although it is standing up well in the tests. It's big enough, but it should be longer and thinner to go underneath.
But you'll be glad when you get the proper tank and the proper boss.
But Bedford now has more pressing matters on his mind. He's used up the Geosource money, and Geosource itself is said to be in trouble.
OK. If you've got a couple of minutes to spare, we'll go down the bottom office. I've just had a phone call from Houston. There's all sorts of drama happening there, I'll tell you.
A sneeze in Houston could become a hurricane in Derby.
Makes Dallas look like quite a boring programme.
He's vulnerable. His workforce has grown, looking forward to those bigger and better Geosource contracts. But his costs are up as well.
I thought I'd better just fill you all in on the picture of what's happening. There's been a lot of comings and goings the last week or two. In essence, we're overdrawn at the bank. We've got no money, and we should put the shutters up by the weekend. I've no doubt we shall.
Some faces may not be here much longer, but Bedford prefers to emphasise his hopes for eventual success.
In a week's time, Burlington Northern Railroad are coming in, who want to convert the entire railway system. That's a big numbers deal. I'm very anxious that we don't get carried away by the momentum of these things and we stay with the Derby City bus. So just hold your seats and get ready for a fast, bumpy ride, but at least it's going to be exciting.
And here's one short cut that he can take. This van is delivering supplies of liquid nitrogen, which is even colder than liquid natural gas. So, pipe in North Sea gas from the mains and feed liquid nitrogen around it, instant cold. At the other end of this heat exchanger, the nitrogen returns to the air that it came from, and the North Sea gas condenses to a liquid and pours down to the tank below. So he's got the LNG that he needs. And oddly enough, it's come out surprisingly cheap. For his long-term plans, Bedford will have to raise finance in the city.
How you doing? Nice to see you. Not too bad. Where do we get a taxi?
Yes, I think so.
Come we're down here.
You ready for
And Silcock, who has a feel for the numbers, has offered to help.
It was a high-speed boat. We ended up falling in the downtown.
But it's not just the long term. Even to get going, he'll need about 200,000.
You see the bubbles coming up over there?
Yeah, methane gas all over the place.
All a bit different from a raid on the local bank.
What do you hope to achieve out of the meeting this afternoon, Tim?
Well, we've got to cop 200 Gs pretty quickly because we're having a hard time at the NatWest, and it's now beginning to slow the project down.
If you just go and ask for the 200,000, you're not going to get an audience. You've got to go and ask for the big sum of money, $5, $10 million, whatever the actual project concept requires. How much do you hope to retain yourself?
Well, I'd like to stay in control of the thing. The steam's going to go at it if we don't.
What was the thinking for the choice of the bank that we're going to this afternoon?
The introduction came from Peter King. I've known him for 2 or 3 years. He's recently strung together a deal in Hong Kong for the railway.
Peter King is also an energy advisor to the World Bank. He's a heavyweight. His introduction should lend them credibility. Tim Bedford has seen the insides of all too many banks. All that the clearing banks seem impressed by is his overdraft. Venture capitalists seem to want a rather high return on their risk. So how about the merchant bankers? It looks like good news.
We had a marvellous meeting. We worked out a long-term strategy that takes care of the short term as well, and I'm getting hold of Peter King on Friday morning to tidy up the report. They defined the problem areas as we saw them as well, the security, the credibility, and the performance in the long run. But I think it was a good meeting, and I think that something may come of it. Oh, yeah, we cracked it. Yeah.
In other words, the bank didn't say no. And he still has the immediate problem. He needs cash.
Yes, good morning. I wonder if you could help me. It's Tim Bedford, TJ Bedford. And I'm in a right old flat. We'll need a bit of cash, and I've sent a young lady down who's got a vicious green dress on with a cheque which I've made pay cash for 50 quid. Is it all right for you to cash it to her? It's TJ Bedford. 50 quid, and that's all I need.
In the workshops, they're preparing a Mercedes engine for its endurance test on gas. Geosource remains the only source of money, and their Argentine adventure is still on. Dave Armstrong will go there, if he gets a visa. Meanwhile, a much reduced team doubles up on different projects, such as the Derby bus. There was a financial controller, but he's gone too. Expansion plans shelved. The only men left are the engineers. The big push to go into production, that too has ground to a halt.
Can you put the gas on, Tony?
And the system itself, much the same as we saw 6 months back. Switch the microprocessor over to gas. But still from the cylinders. The fiberglass tank is out to contract.
Same again, right on.
Same again. But the basic idea is good. And it looks good to each new potential customer.
Tell you what, turn left and go down the ring road and turn left. And turning left is easy for us because we're not very good bus drivers.
The Derby City Transport Manager has come to see what's happened to his bus.
I'll go and knock it onto gas for you.
And the Deputy Manager will judge the difference.
What have you done now? Right, you're on gas now. Yeah, no, I felt it. Felt it kick.
You can get too much power when you go to gas.
With the electronics, we can govern the engine to within 15 revs of what we want it to do. As I say, we can give you an absolutely accurate maximum speed.
Acceleration is much better.
It is, isn't it?
Much more lively.
Today's episode from Houston. Boardroom battles. Geosource is breaking up. One American contact has taken his winnings and gone. Another is out of a job. So where does that leave Tim Bedford? He has a heavy overdraft, a reduced but still enthusiastic staff,
The solenoid control for the 10% air ram.
and a product which is not quite ready for production.
It all works, but the next one...
You got a minute? It's starting right now.
Where it puts Bedford is on a transatlantic flight tomorrow morning.
I thought I'd better just tell you, things have been moving rather quickly the last couple of weeks, as you'll guess. The situation it is at the moment, which could be obsolete in 5 minutes' time, but that's how I see it right now, is on the commercial financial front. On Friday evening, I had a phone call to say Jerry Larson's no longer with Geosource. That's happened rather abruptly. I'm seeing his boss in Houston on Wednesday, and the line of attack at the moment is we played absolutely straight down the road, and as I see things at the moment, that must be the #1 bet. But if there's any hassle or reasons why that can't go through, I've got 2 other meetings, one in the States, one in Canada, as in alternative insurance bets. On the hardware front, we've come to a crossroads on that, and we've got good working prototypes, which in my opinion aren't good enough to go into production with. I think they're potentially weak, unreliable, or not reliable enough. So Pete, who's here, Pete's coming on the job specifically to come up with production hardware, which will be substantially better than what we've got at the moment.
An essential extra member of staff to solve their problems.
And all the budgeting and negotiations we have next week will be related to having production quality hardware in 3 months' time. We've got to get this 1,500-hour endurance test under our belt during that period. And so it's a low profile for 3 months, sort out the commercial, the financial side, organise the company, with a view to starting to go like hell 3 months from now.
His travel plans take in Houston and also Minneapolis, Burlington Northern Railroad. Then on to a mystery financier. Back in Derby, the Mercedes endurance test is underway, but minus Dave Armstrong, who has gone to Buenos Aires, but his conversion kits have been impounded by the Argentine customs. And this work only goes ahead because Geosource sent one last cheque. But in fact, the local bank just swallowed it up to cut down Bedford's overdraft. They won't even let him touch it. He believes that he's closer than ever to success. But he has to beg the long-suffering bank for just a few days' regret. It's time for a crisis meeting with business associates and friends who know his style all too well.
The 3 companies we've had going, the NatWest have run out of patience with them and are now returning checks to us for as little as 250 quid. So yesterday we sent a letter to area office explaining that we'd got some fairly substantial funding in the wings for a new company that would take them all over and clean the mess up. And they've agreed this morning to give us a facility that'll tide us through until about end of next week sort of time. 12 grand. Now, it's a very basic situation.
How much do you think you need?
Oh, about $500,000. The most impressive firm order we have at the moment is from Burlington Northern Railroad.
And they're
raring to go. The pressure's on us. They want us to fly out yesterday to start measuring up and cutting metal.
Yeah.
And if you do the sums, it comes out at a $1 billion market for conversions alone. We've got the capability of doing it, and I'm all for going for that like hell.
We've got a market.
Right, and it's immediate.
And it's immediate. And what we require really is the money to exploit that potential.
Bedford seems to think that he can get the money from his mysterious American. but the others are doubtful.
With respect to Tim, there will have to be something rather more substantial than your say-so. What evidence have you that a pound put into the company now is going to be worth £2 or something more than £2 later on? I think what we're trying to do is to sell somebody an eggshell for £250,000.
Without an egg in it.
What's his incentive to risk £500,000?
Presumably 26% of the equity.
Yeah. Time is of an essence, isn't it?
Right. And if we don't get it in, we're finished anyway.
Whatever they throw at him, Bedford has an answer.
What the hell do we do the week after?
No, it's a new name.
Now, what we're proposing doing is we're forming a brand new company called International Gas Power Limited. We've just got to persuade everybody in the world that we are preeminent in our field, and there shouldn't be any problem doing that.
A completely new company.
Right.
There it is.
Yeah.
It has absolutely no assets at the moment.
Yeah.
Are there any, for example, are there any patents?
No,
that the company will have
there are no
patents?
patents at all at this point in time.
So what is it that you're bringing to the company that you're going to put into this box called the new company?
The major asset this new company will have, which the Yanks prize, which doesn't show on the balance sheet and is despised in England, is a group of people who've got a capability of doing a job.
Sounds like he's running out of answers.
Got it.
But he's saved by the bell. A call from America, Bedford's mystery money man.
Yeah.
The call goes on for 15 minutes.
Just a second, let me get a seat and a piece of paper. Right, fire away. Yeah, got it. Nice to hear from you, bye.
It looks like good news, but he's going to make his tormentors fight for it.
Well, now that's all.
You lot of doubting Thomases.
Well,
Did you even dream that we weren't going to do
Tell
it?
us the facts. Tell us the facts. You've come in very...
Right, we've got a major problem.
Ah, well, we got them when you walked in first.
You don't like the name of the company.
No, that is a big problem.
It's come in the nick of time, because otherwise it'd have wasted time. The $500,000 he wants to stick up, he's talking dollars, not pounds.
Yes,
You know, well, I mean, I
yes,
put
yes.
pounds in as a... You
Yes.
got to concede something. If you'd have put dollars in, it'd have said, well, let's have 400,000. So at least we've come back the bit and we've got what we're after in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah. The bitter pill is they want 40%, not 30%.
If you're drowning, he's thrown you half a lifeboat.
The $64,000 question is how much by when?
The next thing is
We don't believe it.
Well, I couldn't give a buggy, you never did.
Go on.
Hang on, well, that fiver, yes. The locomotive. The moment that locomotive is done, going, running, they immediately want another 3 doing.
So the brand new company begins to take shape. On his return from yet another trip to America, Bedford has the investment that he needs. It's gone to for $500,000, but that's pounds again, not dollars. In the financial world, he's now in a far better position to get the long-term support that he's going to need. In Argentina, Dave Armstrong had no success with the bus, but he did convert a pickup truck or two. Now back in Derby, he's found that a cheque for his services abroad has bounced. Was it really worth the effort?
From the point of view of getting it working, yes, it was very worthwhile. I just wish I got paid.
But Tim Bedford should now be all set. All he has to do is fill his new contract and stay within a budget. Maybe that fast and bumpy ride has only just begun.
Next week, the commercial breaks of space salvage.
Like a baby-faced sergeant to me. Looking pretty good yourself, Frank. It's been a while, huh?